what we are talking about is you have someone who's not skilled. A teacher comes along and says, well, I'm skilled. How do I know you're not a fool? And that's the problem. This is the scam that's currently taking place. How does the uneducated student assess a teacher's qualification? I use mental diversification and the skill of quality assessment with mastery to determine this. What this is common denominators of mastered skills that everyone has if they are qualified to teach. Now, I don't have to be a master of masonry to know if someone is qualified to teach me masonry because I have this formula. So I don't know anything about football, but I know the qualifications of a master teacher. So when I sit down and I want to study football, I can tell if someone's qualified to teach me football or not. Now, this is not known in our society. Our society has a catch-22. You're not qualified to determine who a master is if you're not a master. So you're going to have to rely on the teacher to tell you if they're a master or not. No, that's not true. Because
Mhm.
what you really need is the assessment of quality of information. Einstein said this: if you do not know how to explain it simply, then you do not understand it well enough.
Yes, I
So
get you.
I purposely ask people complex questions and then I watch. If they cause me confusion, they're not good enough. If they can't give me a simple answer in 5 words or less, they're not good enough to teach me. Because teaching is not about your mastery of vocation. Teaching is about effective communication.
Yes,
If you have spent your entire life mastering a vocation and ignoring communication, you don't qualify. If you are not qualified to teach a vocation, but you're qualified to communicate, you're going to know the difference. And you don't get this level of communication without ethics. This is really cut and dry and simple. So if you ask a teacher a question and they say, well, it's really complicated. Oh, no, you're a bad teacher. If you ask a teacher a question and they say, well, that's complex. Oh, no, they're a bad teacher. Of course it's complex. You're the teacher. You're supposed to know how to simplify it. That's your job. You're supposed to know
yes,
how to take complex and simplify. That's the mastery. But bad teachers don't know what mastery of a profession is, which means they're tradesmen. Here's the fun part. Intuition has 4 stages: feeling, image, definition, summary.
feeling, image,
Definition,
definition,
summary.
summary.
Those are the 4 stages of intuition. This is the 4 beginning stages of scientific method. The intuition paradox is the first 2 stages of intuition. It is when a person can feel something is true, they can see that something is true, but they're not at stage 3 where they can define it. Stage 4 is when you can explain it simply. Stage 4 is mastery. Stage 3 is tradesman. Stage 2 is tradesman. Stage 1 is apprentice. Only masters are allowed to teach. So if
Yes,
you have someone who cannot explain it simply, it's because they're in stage 2 and stage 3 of their own vocation. They haven't even made it to stage 4. There are 20 stages, and they haven't even made it to stage 4. Oh, no, they're not teaching me. So all you have to do is ask any question. And if they cannot explain it simple and clear, they should not be teaching anybody.
All right, that is correct. That is home. It is very home.
You
Now
asked
you
me
spoke
another
about.
question here. I said there were two parts. That was the first one. Let me go back to it. Let me see here. Yes, the skill versus the job. The other part of the question is the child has the skill, so they must have this job. This is false. This is a part of our culture that we have backwards. We think, get the job. And that's the cart before the horse. Get the job, get the job. What skills do you have? It matches this job. This is wrong. This is causing mental illness. When I was 4 or 5 years old, I loved logic. When I was 8, theater, stage, logic, word, writing. And they asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I went actress, journalist, philosopher. When I was 15 and I was in school and I went before my guidance counselor, they said, what job do you want when you grow up? I said, what jobs are there? And they handed me an index card this big. And I said, these are all the jobs of the world? All of them on this little card? Are you sure? And they said, yep, that's all the jobs. They told me this. And I'm looking at this little index card going, I had a feeling I was being lied to. I didn't want any of those jobs on that card. So I threw that card away and I said, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I continued to pursue my learning journey of the discovered self. I went on my pilgrimage. I explored, I dabbled. I had my family screaming at me to go to college. I had my family screaming at me to have children. I had people yelling at me, advising. I shut all the noise out and I just followed my intuition and I did my skills. Turns out, wouldn't you know it, my skills is building community Gaia, putting a social global regulator in place with this distributed educational system around the globe while I invent slash discover cultivators and build an entire societal structure to nourish and repair society. This was not on that index card. When you
Yes, it was
go
there.
through school and you learn, you're collecting all of these skills. Call these skills your blocks. Just your blocks. At the end of your skills, you're going to put all of your blocks down, and then I'm going to ask you the question, what can you build with all of those skills, do you think? This is a job. You're supposed to take all of your skills and create something new. That is what you're supposed to do. We are supposed to invent new jobs, new job titles, new business models, new businesses with the summation of our skills. The concept of, hey, this is a job title, fit into this. No, 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 that's mental illness. That's a box containing a closed mind. We don't do that. That's going to hurt someone. That does hurt people. One of the things I love about our group, when the 8 of us came together, we all said it unanimously. All right, I don't want a job title. I don't want a job title. I kind of want, can I have the freedom? Do I have to choose? Every one of us said the same thing. It was hilarious to me. I watched it psychologically. Every single one of us said the same thing. The CFO came in, and they're not CFOs. That's one of their job titles. And they're like, yeah, we kind of do everything. And they asked us, so who's your CEO? Who's your CEO, your CEOs? Who's your communicators? And we're all going, yeah, we kind of don't want the title. Could we just leave the titles out the door? Every one of us said the same thing. We did not want the barrier. And the CFO said, yep, you are our people. We're the same way. Just so long as we all are juggling our own balls and all the balls are accounted for. So we can juggle, we can pass the balls. It doesn't matter. So that is how it's supposed to be. And that is one of the things we are teaching to remove out of the mind, to open the mind up so we can free the people. So their imagination is no longer caged to confined into a little box because that causes mental illness.
Mm, that's correct. That's correct. And so we also you also spoke about bringing on board. You spoke about empathy and sympathy, and in my social work bachelor's degree course,
Mhm.
now we spoke about empathy and sympathy, where we were trained that when you are handling a client, you are not supposed to be sympathetic, but you're supposed to be empathetic. You explained it in the voice message, but I just want you to put some more light on it again one more time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because it is believed as a social worker or a professional that the very moment you begin to sympathize with somebody, then you are unable to help them.
Mhm.
If somebody has lost a brother or a sister or a friend, they are crying. They are in grief, they are crying, they are shedding tears. I don't know whether that happens in the US. In Africa, it is very notorious,
It happens
very
here,
common.
yes.
People are crying, rolling up and down. And so, if you are a therapist, even if you felt that pain, you want to cry, then it is advisable that just put yourself in that condition, but don't sympathize. Because if you sympathize, then you become like the client that you want to help. So
Yeah,
your
beautifully
help
said.
will. So that is what I want you to put more effort on that, and then I'll just have to take some information from you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I would even go as far as to say that is subjective and objective. Subjective and objective is empathy and sympathy. Objectiveness is true empathy. Sympathy is subjectiveness. Same thing. You want to be accountable, compassionate with foresight, unemotional with empathy. That is true empathy. It is foresight. It's the accountability of what is going to happen if I say these words. And that is the put yourself in other people's shoes. We need to stop saying those phrases because that phrase teaches our subconscious mind to do story hopping. And now you're talking about literally identity displacement. Identity displacement is the core problem to all of this. Identity displacement is when you project your own identity into another person's story and you get swept away with their story and you are no longer the author. You have destroyed your self-authority and their emotions are now carrying you through. This is undisciplined self. I have a serious ethical problem with the undisciplined self. For me, that is sloppy, that is uneducated, that is not, absolutely not acceptable. And if you're going to be a teacher, a psychologist, a cultivator, it is unacceptable to allow identity displacement to take place. If you are a parent, you must have disciplined self. I would say every person over the age of 8 years old should have identity displacement well under control. By 12 to 13, you should be a master of identity displacement so that you never get yourself carried away. It's called self-control. Mental diversification with control over your cognitive core trains you how to do this. So when I see a 40-year-old woman sweeping and wailing and sobbing on the floor because of another person's problems,
Then they are weak. They are weak. They don't deserve to be called therapists.
I have a problem with this. I'm like, you need to go back to school and get
You
yourself
go
under
back to school.
control. And this is where people think, oh, well, self-control, let's suppress my emotions. No, you don't suppress your emotions. Your emotions are supposed to flow. If you are objective with empathy properly, you don't have this problem. And this is where you have a very thin line between are you safe? Are you optimized? Are you calibrated? Are you managing the flow of your emotions properly? And are you also objective, logical, and disciplined? You should be both. And when you're both, you're balanced, you're healthy, you're optimized. Where mental illness occurs is the self-control and the accountability is gone. The person becomes sympathetic and then they become over sympathizing, subjective, identity displacement, and now they have sacrificed the second ethic of self authority. Now we have a problem. Now, these people then say, I'm going to be a coach. We get that in America. So now we've got a lot of coaches who then say, oh, that's my superpower. I'm an empath. Oh, God. No, no, you are mentally ill. You are undisciplined and you need to go back to 8 years old and learn mental diversification. So learning how to become objective, and this is where it gets very interesting because this is pure ignorance. People think that emotional undiscipline is honorable. People think logic is cold and cruel. I have very few friends. This is it right here. Is people do not value logic. They don't know what it's for. This is the 10th ethic, emotional fluidity. And then you have logic for logical navigation, 11th ethic. And what you want is logic for that skeleton frame and then emotion to run through the logic beautifully so it's guided. You want to use your logic to steer your emotions. Let them run free, but steer your emotions. And then you're supposed to be able to control the flow of those emotions, and you're supposed to put yourself in a healthy environment so you can do this. That way, your physics takes care of your emotions beautifully. And every time you feel your emotions rising up, that's telling you you're not imagining them properly. Let's step back and let's turn down the volume. But you don't want to suppress them. So it's the phrase, put yourself in someone else's shoes. No, become
Yes,
accountable of your own compassionate foresight. Big
I
difference.
got it. I got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you can still be moved by the emotion of the client, then you are not good enough. You
Yes.
need to go back to school.
Yeah. I can listen to someone's, I have the opposite problem. I listen to someone's story and I feel nothing. I think things like, am I your friend? That's intimate and vulnerable. Circle of trust. Are you providing me with information that is inappropriate for our type of relationship? Yes. Why are you sharing that information with me? Because they don't have anyone at home to communicate and connect with. Well, now I know what kind of a person you are mentally, and now I understand what kind of a situation you're in, which validates the way your behavior is, which is why you're seeking strangers for comfort. That's inappropriate behavior.
All
But they are
right.
that desperate for connection. Oh yeah, when I start showing you the logical sequence of how I reach conclusions, it's really going to open the doors for you. This is one of the things that I saw in a peer the other day. Is he came in and he mentioned my father died. That is a huge, huge tell that you are inappropriately providing intimate information to a large group of people because you're desperately seeking to connect, which tells me he doesn't have the appropriate support at home and he's that lonely. And now I'm put in a position where I'm going, that's uncomfortably awkward because I don't have that kind of a relationship with that person. Why are you sharing vulnerable, intimate relationship when I'm a stranger? Circle of trust violation. That is information I would take to my best friend. I would talk to my
Yes.
best friend about it and say, today is my father's birthday. He's passed away. Because I have an emotion, that is an emotional connection statement. He would then
Mm.
give me emotional connection support. That's the kind of relationship we have. But the other gentleman who's saying that to strangers, he is oversharing, which has violated the societal healthy norm. That attracted another gentleman to come in and say, well, my dad's dead too.
I
Yeah.
saw that in the group.
Yeah. It's this is the kind of stuff where, and this is what I refer to as the social manual of optimized health. There are four manuals, and there's only one healthy manual of optimized health. So they are following these manuals, and I'm going, oh, I know which manuals each one of them has. This is the one they need to be following. And this is where it gets interesting because then they get social awkward silence, and that's because they're following the wrong manual. And people who are, and that's where you get social awkwardness. It's very much a round robin game of social. So we'll be talking. I give you words. You give me words. I give you words. So we're sharing the conversation and we're flipping those words back and forth and we're laying the foundation and we're building a ladder. That's what we're doing. It's called a logical sequence. Now we integrate it together and now we're forming a helix, which is building DNA of our dream. Dreams have DNA. That's what we're doing. We are building the DNA of our dream and we're piling. And now we have another individual coming in. So it's the three of us. Boom, boom, boom. It's getting bigger. And there's going to be more people. And we're building this dream. Now one person lies. Now everything from that lie and up doesn't work. This is why lies are told. As soon as a lie comes in, the foundation is no longer solid. Now we have a problem. The whole thing comes down from wherever that lie is built, done. So, but we're still building. So everything we build from point of lie and up is now garbage. But we haven't figured it out yet. So what people end up doing is they build until it falls apart and then they go, I don't understand what's going on. You have a lie. Or they find the lie and they have to unravel it. That's called frogging and knitting. You have to unravel it to that point and then rebuild. Now you have a grief process. This is what happens in grieving. You've got this whole sequence that's built from that lion on, and now you have to grieve the loss of all of that weaving that you've done. I do it every time I knit when I make a mistake and I see a dropped stitch and I'm crying as I'm frogging rows. I'll be knitting for an entire evening and then I'll realize I have a dropped stitch. And now I may have knitted this much. I have to frog it all. And in my back of my mind, I'm thinking, I just spent 5 hours knitting this. No, I wasn't. I was wasting my time. And there's a grieving process every time a knitter has to unweave their knitting to get back to that drop stitch. And all the knitters who
Yes.
watch this are saying, you know, you don't have to do that. You can just like say, I don't know how to do that.
That's correct. That's correct. And so that is a very good conversation and with a very, very heavy response and a professionally. That's so nice. So you spoke about Dr. Daniel and bringing all these doctors on board, the doctors that we are going to function together with. Yes, we also have a lot of, I personally, my team excluded, I have a lot of things that I want to ask Dr. Daniel
Yes. Yes.
in regard to the field of medicine. I
Mhm.
don't know whether he's a surgeon or a gynecologist. Which field is it?
He is a physicist and a chiropractor. He has many fields,
Is
many
it
fields.
general? Is general?
Yeah. Yes. So yes,
Yes.
definitely. He is, I would say he's more of a scientist than a medical doctor. But he does have the degree. And I would say of everything he does, he is first and foremost a physiologist, biologist, physicist. Beautiful, gorgeous combination.
Yes, I love what you said because you remember you said that most of the professionals in their professions, when they are handling a client, they do not want the client to get out of that prison. They want to make sure that they overstay because that is the only way they earn money.
Yes. Yeah.
If you today summarize their situation and discharge them to go home, it means that tomorrow you will not be able to pay your bill. So they
Correct.
will play things down and purport to be helping you, and yet you are just in their prison, but they are doing nothing.
Yeah.
They're only is getting what is coming in terms of money from you to their pockets.
Yes.
And that is
Now,
what you say. I love the statement that you said that this kind of professionals, we are going to put them on a payroll.
mhm,
And this will ensure that they do their job in a professional manner because they are well aware that even despite not having a client today, their salaries will be coming because it is assured. There is a security of tenure. I don't know whether you are aware of security of tenure.
I am, yeah.
Yes, they are comfortable. So I loved that kind of professionalism that you brought on board. And
Thank
this
you.
happens to very, very many professions.
It does.
We have
Yes.
this everywhere.
Yeah.
They do not want you to get well because they know that the very moment you are well, they will not be able to pay their bills.
Yes.
And you have the solution is to
Mhm.
keep these professionals on a payroll.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, very much.
100%, that is perfect.
Hmm. Now, in addition to that, we have the get better and the feel better. And that's something else that Dr. Daniel and I have talked about. You have the cultivator's paradox, but you also have the other side of that where you have clients, patients who come in and they don't want to get better. They want to feel better. The feel better clients are the people who don't actually want to get better. They want the attention. They want the spotlight because they think that that is love and nourishment. These are the people who don't have the right kind of nourishment or social connection at home. So they use the doctor to give them the emotional relationship they seek. So the doctor, this is the cycle Dr. Daniel and I were talking about. The doctor dreams of becoming a healer to help people. They go into the profession. Instead of having that vision of having people come in and you get them better, they come in and they just want to feel better. They are using the doctor as a bottle of alcohol and they are addicted to alcohol. So they're not there to get better, they're there to get their mental addiction fix. The doctor feels used like he's literally a syringe of heroin. And they get their fix, they go home. Now, he has taken a vow of do no harm while he has mentally ill people using him as their drug. What is he supposed to do? Right now, there is nothing in place to help those doctors.
Yes,
Okay, I went ahead and paused the recording while I waited for you. We're good?
yes,
So the question is, what is a doctor in that kind of a position supposed to do? And that is a huge, huge problem in the medical field that's not addressed. Now, I have a solution for that. And I told him this. I said, have both. Have the get better remedy and the feel better remedy. Give them both to them and let them know you can get better or you can feel better. And then if the patient chooses to get better, you know they actually want to get better. I am a get better patient. The feel better patients will only do the feel better patients, and they will continue to use the doctor as their addiction fix. Now, the doctor will then know exactly where they stand. Now, here's the other problem. The current laws are set up so that doctors cannot say the truth to the patients. So the doctor says, I can't help you. That is all they are legally allowed to say. I can't help you. What they need to say is, it is my professional opinion that you are mentally ill and that you need to go speak to a psychiatrist, psychologist, and that you're not physically sick at all. You've got to clean up your mental illness first before anyone can assess if you even have a physical ailment. But they can't say that. So they send these mentally ill people away. And the mentally ill people have no idea why the doctors can't help them. I've talked to those people. I have heard their frustrations going, I don't know what to do. I'm stuck. No doctor can help me. I'm a helpless case. And now they have developed another mental illness I have an incurable, unknown, mysterious disease. It's called mental illness. And I don't know what I'm going to do. And because they were never sent to a psychologist, they live their life with this terrifying, unknown mental disease that they have no idea is mental. This is a problem. So, this is another massive thing that we will be addressing. And in addition to that, you have the doctor paradox of, well, if they get better, I'm not going to have any way to eat. So we have three different medical problems here, three that is causing this massive, huge, huge problem. And no one's addressing it, which is what we're doing here.
We are going to address that.
Mm-hmm.
That is very wonderful. So I'm so happy. I'm so happy for this kind of engagement. And one more time, I thank you. I thank you for your time. I know it was very impromptu,
Oh, yeah.
but you accepted my call. So the way we were speaking about the story in Ethiopia, now we are willing and we are ready to work with everybody that is willing to walk with us this journey. And that is why I told you that you don't need to be worried. I'm here to carry any luggage that you're going to give me. And you gave me mandate to represent you. So anything that comes along the way, anybody that wants to work with us, kindly forward them to me. I'm going to do my research on them and I'm going to check what they stand for. And if what they stand for is what we stand for, then we are going to incorporate them.
Wonderful.
And but we have all said, we have all planned that we are going to begin this program here in Eldoret City, and then the other place will come later. Because the reason why I'm insisting on this is because when we begin a project, a new project, I've been a project manager in many organizations. As a project manager, you don't want to carry the failure of this project here. If we are going to do identical project in another location, we are planting community Gaia in Kenya. The very first project that we are planting.
You have frozen. I believe you were saying the very first project that we are planting needs to be the prototype, evaluated for efficiency, and making sure it's perfected before we expand to the next one. Welcome back.
Sorry, the problem is data, so I have to organize. So I don't know whether you got me, because if
Go
we,
ahead and start over. You were saying that in Eldoret City.
yes, this will be our first project. And in every project, there has to be challenges. And so I want us to learn from the challenges, that when we are doing this similar project in another location, we don't carry the challenges from the first project.
Exactly.
We would have learned. We would have seen where we made a mistake.
Yes.
So we don't do similar mistake in another location. That is why it is advisable as a professional that you don't carry similar projects at a go.
Agreed.
Do one, check the mistakes, check the challenges. You avoid the challenges and mistakes in another project.
Yep, and we're on the same page. I have that's a scientific method. This is the Ashavana
Are you there?
scientific
Are you
method.
getting me?
I am getting you. Can you hear me? I do hear you, yes. Can you hear me? See me? Are you
So that is I do believe that is addressed. So that I'm going to be open. I am going to be available. Anybody that wants to be on board, anybody that wants to work with us, we are going to incorporate them.
that will work out beautifully. I'm going to go ahead and keep talking. I know you'll get this recording later and that'll fill it in. What we are looking at doing is having that logical sequence with the Ashavana scientific method so that every time we set up a prototype, we're going to be able to go back through that prototype, identify the errors, learn from them, and then update our system. That way, when we lay down the next one, it will be a better version than the first. I expect it to go through 3 to 4 upgrades before we have it perfect based off of the data. We're looking at 3 to 4 full attempts to get to perfection. Probably 3, and then the fourth one will be polished to perfection. And then it's the fourth model that we'll be using going from there after to make sure that it's done properly.